and welcome to the Priggya Arora Show, where we promote entrepreneurship in law through conversations with people who have been there and done that. My name is Priggya Arora, founder of PA Legal and Intellectual Property Law Firm in India, and our guest for today is Rachel. Rachel is an inspiring human being with over 20 years of experience in strategic management and commercial and construction contracts. She runs Blaze Legal and Blaze Business to provide a complete solution to all your business and legal problems. Let us directly dive into the conversation with her. Hi, Rachel. Thank you for being on the show. And I really want to welcome you. And let us directly begin with if you were to introduce yourself at a business meeting, how would you do that?
That's a really interesting question. And why don't I just introduce myself to you guys, and then that'll tell you how I normally would. So my name's Rachelle Hare. I've been a lawyer specialising in construction law and commercial law for the last 20 years. And I've been in private practice plus government plus in-house in big companies as well. I've recently set up my own law firm, so Blaze Legal, and a linked management and business consultancy firm, which is Blaze Business as well. So I set those up in Brisbane, and but obviously working, around Australia and the world as needed. Focus a lot on change management in companies, so particularly in law firms, but also in business firms as well, helping them basically fix problems, I guess is how you would say it. So I'm probably not your typical lawyer. Yes, I do legal work. Yes, I do a lot of contracting, a lot of contract work, but I also help people behind the scenes in just running and managing things and fixing up problems. So there you go.
Wow. Amazing, Rachel. So as you told that you believe in change management and how to fix up problems. So can you share some instance like what actually is a problem which lawyers or law firm owners do not think that is a problem, but it could be a problem, and how do they solve that?
Yeah, good question. So yesterday I published a article in the Impact Lawyer. It's all about the Great Resignation and how law firms can actually keep their staff. So I gave some really practical insights and change management perspectives in terms of how people can put in place different processes and change things up so that they can actually have a better chance of keeping their staff. But that's just as an introduction, because one of the things I see in a lot of law firms and a lot of businesses generally is the culture. And sometimes or even often it's the culture of the organisation that actually causes a lot of trouble, and that can actually lead to employees not being happy and not being fulfilled, and therefore resigning quite often. So when you combine culture with the often the personality of the immediate supervisor, those are two really big factors I see in how junior lawyers are sometimes unhappy with what they're doing. They're not being fulfilled professionally. They're not being taught. They're not being given feedback in how to actually do work properly. So from change management, I would come in and I would, I guess, analyse the culture and how that supervisor works. And then I would help with training the supervisor, teach the supervisor how to actually look after and mentor the junior lawyers. Also then, I guess, come to some view on what are the problems with the culture, work out how to fix them, and then help put those all in place. So it's obviously not a quick fix, but it can actually make a really big difference to businesses and law firms to get that change management in place. And it makes a huge difference to the staff who are actually working there to go from basically wanting to quit to then finding themselves actually in a really good situation if their supervisor is actually looking after them properly.
Amazing, Rachel. So I'll share some instance from my life or what people generally, come to me with. So whenever people intern with me or with my firm, so our firm is a kind of very people it's kind of, I am kind of a people's person, so I love
Yes, right.
speaking to people, taking care of them and things like that. So what
Yeah.
I got through your conversation is, sometimes what happens is, we focus too much on mentoring of a junior lawyer or an intern, for example, but nobody thinks about how a senior lawyer should behave with a junior lawyer in terms of bringing more productivity to the firm. Yeah,
Yes.
so I think that is one key takeaway from this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. Everyone focuses on how you train the juniors, but no one is no one is willing to talk about how you train the seniors. And
Seniors, yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of them didn't actually have the opportunity to learn properly. And so it's not a criticism of them. It's not anything saying they're bad people. It's just saying, hey, why don't I give you some suggestions and some tips and ways that maybe you can actually change your own approach, because goodness, that will help the juniors, and that then will increase productivity. So it's all linked, and very much what I do, the bottom line is helping increase productivity. So for a business, they're not going to pay a lot of money for me to come in and fix things up unless it's going to help their bottom line. So that, I guess, is the idea of it all, is to help things run more smoothly.
Wow. So it's like increasing productivity, increasing interaction among the people who are working as a team, so that they can bring out great output. So that's
Yeah. Yeah, and look, even to the point of, so you've got a junior, they're not feeling very engaged, they're not really being looked after, so they're going through the motions, but they're not really putting out a lot of output in terms of, you know, being proactive and actually trying to do really, really decent work. If you change that round and you suddenly get the supervisor teaching the juniors how to do some things, getting them excited, getting them engaged in what they're doing, it really makes a big difference, because all of a sudden the juniors turn around and go, you know what, I'm loving this. Give me more work, or let me do this, or can I do this? And then before you see it, you've got the juniors actively taking part in their own career. And then as an owner of a law firm, that's wonderful, because that means then that they're actively billing and making more profit then for the firm. So it all has that linked effect as well, which works out really well.
amazing. So Rachel, another question which just popped in my mind is, we talk about change management in terms of team building a lot. So what do you think can be a starting point for building a team, and how do because you have been in business for about 20 years, and such an awesome thing that our audience can learn from you. So if young lawyers, or people who are starting up, want to start building a team, so what should be their approach in team building?
Yeah, great question. And I guess I've seen it from a number of different angles. So I've seen it from the angle of a junior, and I've seen it from the angle of coming into a law firm as a lawyer, and I've seen it coming in as a senior lawyer. And now I've got my own law firm and I'm actively building a team. So it's really exciting in all the different ways that I've gone through it. So in terms of how you go about it, for me, the fit of the personality is really, really important. And I know for me, just setting up my own team now, if there's someone there who I don't get on with, I don't trust, I don't like as a person, it makes it really, really difficult to actually work with them day in, day out. So I think that's why I place so much emphasis on culture and fit. Yeah, you can work with people, you can be professional, you can do what you need to do. But the challenge, if you don't actively like being with someone or like working with someone, is to make that smoother team and nicer culture to work in. So I guess you want to start off by looking at personalities. And I always say work from the top down, and it's really important that the partner or the supervisor needs to understand their own personality. And this is where you get into personality typing, and I'm not a personality typing expert by any means, but I've done it over the years, and I've had it done to me over the years. And I think it's really important. I think the partner of a firm, of a group that they're building a team, they need to know what their personality is, right? So I'm probably a little bit more of the higher level, strategic, managerial type. I don't micromanage. I just don't micromanage. It bores me. So I need someone to work with me who doesn't need to be micromanaged, because if they need a micromanager, then they and I aren't going to work very well together, you know? So it's, I guess, being open and honest about your own, not faults, but your own different character profiles and different parts of your personality. So you then can select people who work really well with you. So my management and business consultancy firm, Blaze Business, I have a business partner in that particular company, and we really complement each other, because he has a very financial, details focused mind, where he's immediately thinking about the bottom line and the impacts on different things and the financials. I don't think about that stuff. So it for me, I'm more like, oh, look, a butterfly. Oh, look, let's do this. I'm kind of an ideas person, get my work done, but I don't really think about that level of administration and financial side of things. So it works really well because we complement each other personality wise, and it means we're actually able to, I guess, if I'm weaker in one area, he's stronger in that area, and it really helps. So that's what you're looking for when you're building a team. So if you start at a partner level, you're working your way down, right? So I need a senior lawyer. They need to be able to run matters themselves. They need to have the go-getting temperament. They can actually do a lot of work without supervision. They can supervise junior lawyers, make sure they're doing okay. I don't need to hold their hands. So you can see we're starting to build a team based a lot on personality and how people work together.
Yes.
So partner, senior lawyer, right, I need a junior or two juniors. So what am I going to do for juniors? Maybe I want one junior who's really process driven, who's really focused on step by step, who can take a matter and just follow a set of instructions through and work just methodically through those instructions. But maybe my other junior, maybe I don't want two juniors the same. Maybe my other junior, I want someone who can actually go out and meet clients and get business. So maybe I actually want to choose a personality more of an extrovert, someone who likes going to client meetings, someone who can actually go out and talk to clients and actually bring in some more business for the firm. So again, we're kind of plugging in different, I guess, different personality types to make up the ideal team. Right, I want some interns. So what type of intern am I going to get? So maybe I want an intern who's going to actually look at the contracts in a really detailed manner, not need too much supervision, just go through step by step and be really, really good at picking up problems in contracts, for example. So maybe one of my interns, when I'm doing my interviews, that might be the personality type I'm looking for, is the really details focused personality type. Another one of my interns, I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. Maybe I want my intern to help me on LinkedIn. Maybe I want them to help me with my marketing, draft policies and procedures, go to client meetings and take notes. So again, I want a bit more of an extrovert, someone who's a bit more of the artsy side, someone who likes, doing different things, getting out and about, and is able to be a bit more proactive, but not necessarily the details focused. So you see, yeah, it really, to me, all comes down to personality. It all comes down to how the different people fit together. And I think then once you've got that foundation of personality types, it's almost inevitable, if you put that thought process into it, that you're actually going to pick people who you want to work with. And that, to me, then is the foundation of the team. And also that way, because you kind of know where people's strengths and weaknesses are, you can start to teach them, either build them up on their details, and make them a contracts drafter, or make them a rainmaker who, knows all the skills in terms of getting clients. So you can actually work with their strengths. So yeah, so that's I guess my thought process behind building a team. It's pretty complex, but it's also pretty exciting too.
Amazing. So, Rachel, I have been attending a lot of, team building and workshops and things like this, but I haven't looked at team building from the angle of personality types. And it's just amazing because I think 2 years ago, I gave some personality tests to check my personality. And I know everybody, every human being, every person we work with is just perfect with the way they are. Some may be outgoing and go-getters types, like we want to build clients. Some would be extremely focused and hardworking, very detailed with their work. So we need every kind of people in the firm. So
we do.
Yeah. So team building aspect from this, understanding it from this point is just it just blows my mind. It's kind of a bulb on moment, or I think it's for me, and it would be for everybody.
Yeah, I hope so. And if you're looking for another little tip between us, there's a particular personality profiling system that I really like, and it's called the Enneagram.
Yeah.
So Enneagram. So it sounds like you might have heard of that one. But I particularly like that one. I think it talks about personal life to do with your personality, but it also talks about your work life as well. So it's got a lot of insights, I find. And ever since my very first firm, personality type test, I've always kind of paid attention to that because I think it was really spot on, actually.
Great. Yeah, that's why you can see a smile on my face. I have taken out all the, affirmations and everything for my personality type, and they're right in front of me so that I can have them every day.
Nice. Yeah. And it's funny because I'm not someone who walks around talking about personality all the time. Like, it's something I rarely mention even, but it really, the paying attention to it really underlies some of the decisions you make, I feel anyway.
Yeah. And I go on telling people you should take Enneagram test, and then we'll discuss if we can work together, or is it a right fit or everything.
Look, pros and cons for doing personality tests. There's pros and cons for it, but I guess once you've had enough experience in using it, you can pretty much do your own little guess, can't you, in terms of what personality type someone is after you've talked to them for a little bit.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's like every personality type is good. It's just we need to give right work to the right person. So I think that's why it's important. It
is very true. And it's not a criticism. It's not negative at all, but it's recognizing that everyone's got their strengths and you want to have a good mix of people, because otherwise, if everyone's the same, then there's things that just won't get done because everyone's doing these things, but what about all these things? So it's just getting a good mix of people, that's all.
Great. And Rachel, you also talk a lot about negotiation. I keep following you on LinkedIn and other platforms, and you share a lot of detailed information about negotiations. So do you apply personality tests on that as well? And if you can share something about how do you actually take forward your negotiations?
I don't apply personality tests, but gosh, I have a good idea of what the personality of the person opposite me who I'm negotiating is. And that really does help, because if I can say this person's just got something to prove and they're out to, show me off and to make me look silly right from the start, it gives me an angle and it gives me an ability to actually stop or preempt some of the things they're planning on doing. So, and if the person opposite me is a really reasonable person, a really commercial person, I can tell straight away, you know what, all we need to do is just sit down and chat and we'll get this done in an hour and we're off to lunch. So it's really useful to know and to understand people's personalities, because that way you can actually get the best out of a negotiation.
And any other negotiation technique that you would like to share with us?
Oh, goodness. Well, I've put a lot on my LinkedIn, so I've given pretty much all of my trade secrets away. But I do like using a term sheet, and look, keep in mind that the projects I work on are on the much more complex side of the scale. So yes, I do smaller contracts, but most of my projects are the really big construction projects or infrastructure projects or big commercial projects. So a term sheet lets you item by item list out all the issues that you need to negotiate. And that way you can actually sit down at a meeting and talk through the issues one by one without losing track of where you are, and also without forgetting some of the issues. So you've actually got like a whole list of different things. And I guess the way you do it is, if you agree the term sheet first, it makes drafting the contract easier, because then you've actually got all the main terms, like IP, for example, who owns the IP. You agree that first, and then you can actually go and draft the contract. So using the term sheet, particularly for bigger projects, really makes it easier, I've found, and it keeps everyone at the meeting focused on the issues, rather than falling into a pattern of having a robust discussion, shall we say, or a very a big argument with someone about different things. You can actually redirect it back to the term sheet and say, you know what, let's park that for a while. We're not getting anywhere. Let's park it. We'll come back to it later, on the next item on the term sheet. So you can actually really quite easily redirect it and move on if there's a problem, and park that for later. And often you find that once tempers die down, it's easier then to actually negotiate that outstanding issue.
So it's like we get a roadmap, and then we follow that roadmap step by step, and then we are able to reach through the negotiation, and that happens.
Yeah, it can make it really, really a lot easier. And what you do after the negotiation is one of the parties actually fills in the term sheet with what was agreed, and you send it to the other side, and they make sure they're happy with it. And that way you've actually got a written record of all of the different things that were agreed. Because sometimes my negotiations, for example, they can take weeks, or they can take months even. They're that big. And if you're just relying on memory or the scribbled notes you took in an actual meeting, you start to lose track of what you were talking about and what the actual outcome was. So the term sheet's really good because it lets you write down what the outcome was. So we've agreed to amend clause 6.2 by putting the word not before the word but, and you can actually write that into the term sheet, and there's a record then of what you've agreed. So it helps things move more efficiently in the bigger negotiations, and making sure that you actually have a record of what was agreed as you go through.
Yeah, I think this would be very helpful, not only with, I think, negotiation, we can do with every case we get that, step-by-step process, and everything is documented. Basically, when you're going to, probably you're meeting the client after 1 year, you should know where was the conversation 1 year ago. Because sometimes I feel regularly this happens, specifically with my work, like we have deadlines of 1 year as well. Yeah. And after 1 year, the client will come back and say, you wrote this last year. And then we have to take notes and prepare that roadmap and arrange that in some manners. Now that we have digital, we are in a digital era, we can do that digitally on some software like CMS and all. But initially, I remember when I used to be an intern with firms, and the digital era was not there. We used to have big file racks, and we still do have, but very big file rooms and file racks where everything was documented. So I think we can.
Well, imagine 20 years ago. I think email was just invented then, right?
Yeah.
It was only early days though.
Yeah. Big, very, very, very big. Like they'll have all basements and filled with file racks and everything.
Yep. Everything was paper.
Yeah. So that is one thing. So Rachel, now I would, like, you told us that you have two businesses. One is management, one is law. So can you tell us how they coincide with each other and how they are different from each other? The commonality.
Yeah, definitely. So Blaze Business, I guess, is where my business partner and I go out and we meet businesses, we meet clients, and we talk to them, we work out what their problems are, and we help them fix the problems, as I was saying. So if it's a law firm, we might come in and help them restructure or fix their culture or teach some of their senior lawyers how to do things. So I do training programs. So in law firms, particularly where they haven't trained the juniors and where the juniors need a lot of upskilling, I'll come in and I'll train the juniors up and help mentor them and coach them and get them upskilled. So that's, I guess, Blaze Business, and we basically just fix problems for business. You can say it that easily, but it's a lot harder work than that. But in the course of that, we need to do a lot of legal work to help the clients get their legal side fixed up, and that's where my law firm comes in. So I'll put on my lawyer's hat, and I'll actually turn around and help them fix up some of their contracts, or help them. I act as general counsel, so I'll act as their general counsel on retainer, and give them a in-house lawyer even when they can't afford to pay for one full time. So that's something that really helps the clients out, and it helps by me being a lawyer that I can actually come in and do that. Separately as well, under Blaze Legal, I will just act as as your traditional law firm as well. So I've got kind of that two-pronged approach, is one, acting as a lawyer for my business clients, but the other is like a general lawyer in a general law firm. So it's an interesting mix of work, and yeah, it keeps me busy.
I'm sure, and it would be a lot fun too, because when we do a single kind of work, it may get monotonous. But if we are doing multiple kind of work, it's always fun. And
yeah.
Another question. I know I just have too many questions because I've been following you on LinkedIn from such a long time now. And so another question is, I always look at your LinkedIn post, and I am like, how does Rachel do this? Like, is she alone? Is it a whole team behind your LinkedIn? How is the thought process? Something around that, if you can share about how
for sure
handle your
for
show.
sure. No team, just me. I guess when I started, and I've only been on LinkedIn actively for a couple of months, so it seems like longer now, but really I've only been on there maybe for 3 months. But what I decided when I came on was I wanted to share a lot of my knowledge, but from a more practical slant. So you'll see in a lot of my posts, I really try and give practical suggestions to people about how to negotiate or how to draft a contract from scratch, for example. And so I give legal tips and tricks, but also professional development as well. And then also, I guess, more posts, more tailored towards the businesses and how they can actually operate and do their change management processes and fix up their problems if needed. So I guess with all of that, my underlying philosophy has been to, I guess, help share my knowledge and help other people learn some of the things that I've learned over the last 20 years, perhaps without going through the same, challenges I went through to get to that point. But yeah, no, not a team behind me. I'll occasionally get a couple of interns in and they'll help me with a few different things, but LinkedIn's pretty much, I do that myself. Sometimes I'll schedule a run of different posts, like I just scheduled my recent contract negotiation posts. But actually mostly it's me just at a particular day sitting down and going, what am I going to write about today? So I do need to get a bit more organized, I know that. But I kind of switch between, contracting and then professional development, and then maybe something else, maybe negotiating, and then back to contracting again, just so I kind of mix it up a bit. But yeah, that's I guess how I work. It's a little bit haphazard, but it seems to be working.
So it is a kind of, mostly your posts are in the form of series, like the negotiation series, the contract series. So do you plan everything before posting that, how the series will go? Or
if I do this series, then yeah, I've got a bit of an idea in my head of what I might want to do. So yeah, the negotiation tips that I did this week was I wrote them all at the start and then just scheduled them to come out. So I knew right from the start what I was doing. But the contract drafting tips I did last week, I did I think a 7-day series. That was really me saying, yep, I'm going to write tips about contract drafting, but then each day I just got down and wrote a tip. I didn't plan it in advance. So yeah, it's really, I guess, it's no real rhyme or reason for how I do it. It's kind of just how I feel like on the day.
But the thing is, I just want to share this with everybody who is listening to this podcast. The thing is, continuity is important. What we can do is either we can write it before and schedule it so that every day something is happening on the platform, or we can plan to do it every day, maybe take out half an hour, or a fixed amount of time, whatever you think is required for the platform. The main point is continuity is important. Either we can schedule it beforehand or we can do it every day. It's up to us, but doing it every day is important. Like the post should be up every day.
Yeah, and I've been actively trying to post every day so that people get that continuity, as you say, and also to go around and comment every day too, because it's important to start to build up your own network. And I've now got a group of some really awesome people who I comment on their posts very regularly, and they comment on my posts regularly, and it really does help to build up that feeling of community.
Correct. And I think for lawyers, it's one of the most important thing to develop a community, because as I always say, people work with people and they don't work with some logo or some firm or a brand name. They prefer working with people. Who is the lawyer behind it? Who is the person? How is the person? Is the person taking care of the client, or the person is just they'll take up a case or run away with it? So I think building up your personality, your network, your community is also important.
Yeah, very much. And I think I've noticed that there's a particular type of lawyer who actually gets on LinkedIn and is actively either posting or commenting, or even just reading, because you get people who just like your posts rather than commenting necessarily. And I think there's a particular type of lawyer who does that, or even law student. And I think they're the ones who want to learn and who want to take charge of their own careers. And kudos to them. It's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I can see that they want to learn, and I can see that they want to actually get that knowledge and those insights. And I'm in a position to give those insights and that knowledge. So, that's for the main reason why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing, Rachel. So thank you so much. And now we'll conclude with, some tips that you can, or some, I'll say you can, if you can share some important skills that law students should learn, or young lawyers, or young means mentally young lawyers who are open to learning new skills. So some skills that people like us should develop or learn currently in 2021 to become better lawyers, or better entrepreneurs, or better legal entrepreneurs.
Yeah, good question. I think you need to learn how to think analytically and strategically. So a lot of the time in law school, you're really just given rote learning, and you're given, this is a case about X, Y, Z. So remember all the details about this particular case, but they don't really teach you how to apply that case to a real life situation when you're actually working in a law firm. And so I think it's really important that you find a way to actually analyze and think about consequences, think about linkages, think about if this happens, then this will happen, or if I do this, then this is the consequence, or if I change this paragraph in a contract, then I need to go and change these 4 paragraphs in the contract. So that's a skill that I think is really, really important, to be able to question and ask why and how, and then apply that to your actual practice as you go forward. People skills, again, not surprisingly, perhaps is a really important one. I guess it comes under the banner of emotional intelligence. So I think a lot of lawyers are very much a similar personality type, right? So we may not necessarily be so much of a people person. We may be more people who want to sit there and just read a book or read a case or a contract and not actually talk to people. But I think you find as you get higher and higher in your career, it's more important that you are able to actually interact with people and talk to clients and go out and get work. That's really, really important. So I guess in terms of those skills, you can learn them. If you're sitting there going, but I don't feel comfortable with public speaking. I used to be terrified of public speaking. I would just avoid it. And you know what? I love it now. I really enjoy public speaking and sharing my knowledge. So you can actually practice and you can learn tips and techniques. You can learn how to go out and talk to clients and get new work. So you can learn how to talk to your boss in a way that's, you know, professional, but helps to build that relationship. So emotional intelligence development, read books, read audiobooks, listen to audiobooks, get the skills and practice them. And I think that's really, really important. So look, those are probably the main skills, but in terms of what should you do is get experience, really just get as much experience as you can. And I know it's hard sometimes to get internships in, you know, law firms. It's hard to do certain things, but ask yourself, what skills do I need to learn for my future career? And if you can't get an internship in a major law firm, where else could you get an internship? Or where could you go and work and practice? So you're kind of thinking outside the box and getting those skills a different way, even if you can't actually find the experience you need through the traditional routes. You know, like I take on interns remotely, so I don't take physical interns. I take remote interns, but gosh, I teach my interns a lot. You know, so people who are sitting there going, I don't want to do a remote internship because I only want to do a physical internship. Well, I can guarantee you'd learn 5 times as much from me than you would from a physical internship as it is. So yeah, it's all those things. It's thinking outside the box and taking charge of your own career and what you need to do to develop.
Amazing. So I'll just reiterate this, thinking out of the box and taking charge of your career is something very, very important. And for that, it's important to develop analytical thinking, emotional intelligence, and just be in practice to learn something or the other that will develop you in terms of your career. It may be different for different personalities, but for each one something is there that with this roadmap we can just increase ourselves, or we'll be a better person, better human being, and better leaders as well.
Definitely.
So yeah, thank you so much, Rachel. I think it would be very, very helpful for all of us to, for the audience, for the listeners, for everybody to listen to this podcast and watch our video. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah. You're very welcome. It was fun. Thank you.
And I look forward to meeting you again and again very soon.
Likewise. All right. Thank you so much.
Hey dear viewer, thank you for watching today's video. Do share your top 3 key takeaways in the comments. My name is Priggya Arora, daughter of inspiring parents, alumna of IIT Kharagpur, engineer turned lawyer and entrepreneur, and now founder of PA Legal, where we help creators and innovators protect their intellectual property. Thank you.